Hi, I'm Laura Rolfe, host of Powered by Franchising and CEO of Mint Franchise Consultants. I have been working with this next group of franchises for the last 4.5 years, and I'm thrilled to welcome Tony Hulbert, CEO of Horsepower Brands, to the Powered by Franchising podcast. I love this brand so much. I've placed personal friends with one of their brands, Mighty Dog Roofing. Tony and I will chat a little bit more about what makes Horsepower Brands so special, but welcome to the show, Tony.
Laura, thanks for having us. It's a pleasure to be on, and I'm excited to join this podcast with you.
Well, Horsepower Brands has definitely cornered the horsepower behind supporting your franchisees, the various brands that you have. We'll get into that in a minute. But I wanted to start with a simple question. How did you get involved in Horsepower Brands and franchising a little over 5 years ago?
Yeah, so part of my background, I've been in different types of franchising, I'd call it, for a long period of time. I've been a franchisee in the nutrition retail space with a group of young entrepreneurs. I had sweat equity in that, and we built close to 65 stores across 17 different states at a pretty young age with that group, and went through all the challenges of being a business owner and not knowing all the answers and looking for solutions wherever we can find it. So I've been on the side of the table as a franchisee, spent some years in the PepsiCo space, which they operate off of distribution agreements. 20% of the US at the time was still privately held by families with perpetual distribution agreements. But I could relate that very similar to franchising in the sense that PepsiCo, the parent, gave us all the marketing, the sales, and the product, and many of the things that we needed to do and operate as a independent, privately held business that did distribution. So in that group, I was actually started as their CFO at a young age, and we did some acquisitions, and then I did actually go completely opposite and was their vice president of sales and marketing. So at an early age, did the CPA route, CFO route, learned and understood that I enjoyed just building teams and making some decisions on the front end without all the data, and also just seeing what kind of results you could get by building teams and leveraging platforms like PepsiCo or the nutrition space that we were in. So I've seen a lot of different aspects of franchising, and I look to PepsiCo as kind of like the North Star of how great you could be in terms of from a marketing and a sales and an engine that they built. They just did it a little bit different than the typical franchise route. So that's a little bit of my background. Got involved with Mighty Dog Roofing. You mentioned that on the onset. That was our first brand within Horsepower Brands in the roofing space. So I joined the group officially originally as the CFO for Horsepower and Mighty Dog Roofing, and then transitioned and assumed the CEO role in November of 2021. And from there, we got a lot to talk about today.
We do. Well, we have a similar background, although I didn't work for Coors, but my parents owned a Coors beer distributorship,
Yeah.
so that operated this in the same regard as PepsiCo. So I do understand that business model. And my dad said that that is definitely a variation of franchising because of the agreements and there's still royalties, just a little different kind of royalties. Um, so as far as Horsepower Brands goes, you have 9 different brands that you continue to grow and foster, which are excellent. And we'll talk about them in a minute. But the engine behind supporting franchisees is pretty unique to Horsepower Brands, from the onboarding to the different systems, the various verticals. Can you share with our listeners who may be looking at Horsepower Brands some of the differentiators for your franchise system?
Yeah, so it started first looking at the problems that still exist in a business, whether you're part of a franchise or not. And so you join a Mighty Dog Roofing, and you learn the sales, the operations, the marketing on how to run a roofing business, but you still have general problems within a business where you need solutions, such as bookkeeping, who's going to do my bookkeeping, such as recruiting, who's going to help me hire people, things of that sort. So we have a platform that we call Z Services, ZEE Services, and that represents 10 different, at this time, 10 separate initiatives that focuses on solutions to common business problems, such as recruiting, such as fleet maintenance or fleet purchasing. So on the front end, uh, acquiring the truck, not a lot of people even know that how to not necessarily acquire a truck, but then to get the wrap on the vehicle, who to source that through, what type of material. So we're actually an auto dealership, and we call that Z Fleet. And that entity and that initiative focuses on acquiring the vehicles ahead of time that meet the standard and the scope of our franchise brand, securing the wrap, getting the installer of that wrap on the vehicle, making sure that it's proofed and everything's accurate before we send it off to the franchisee. And so if the franchisee chooses, they can elect to utilize Z Fleet for that service. Z Recruit is one of our initiatives that we have partnerships in place that help you find people that can work in your business, whether that's a general manager, salespeople, or the technicians that you need to be able to operate and run your business. So when you join Horsepower, the objective behind each one of those is to, again, just layer on top of just the franchise brand. So a lot of people looking at a franchise brand exclusively, one brand, they're missing about 10 additional layers that we've added as part of Horsepower brands that we call Z services.
Well, and it really helps a franchisee launch successfully, not have to worry about bookkeeping or where I'm going to buy my vehicle. You have marketing services that start pre-launch of a business starting and then continue to support the franchisee through social media, other outward facing marketing opportunities. So I love that you are setting people up for success initially. And then the other thing about having all those support systems is people can build and grow a big business. So many of the candidates that are looking at Horsepower brands own multiple territories because it just makes sense to scale big from the start. What are your comments on how Horsepower brands helps put the power into franchisees' launch and building and growing a big business?
Yeah, first, one thing you'll notice with all nine of our brands, we're in the home, and that's by design. We want to be everything in home services. We want to own the home, so we want to be expansion of additional brands will always be inside the home. We think there's tremendous opportunities in that space through pandemics, through recessions, through difficult times, through the good times. We think you can grow a home services business, and if you have a population and territory, multi-territory, you can grow a big business. And so we want to leverage our Z services and leverage the multiple service lines and segments within each one of those brands that we have to allow you to build that big business. And when you reach challenges as finding labor, how do you elevate your marketing to that next step? What type of bookkeeper do you need? If you need fleet, for example, what type of national partnerships? All those Z services will allow you to continue to scale businesses during that life cycle of your business. Every business has different life cycles, and you're going to reach inflection points where you need help, and we are here for that time period where you need help to get through that next inflection point to grow again. Some people will want to stay the course and be comfortable with where they're at for a period of time and make sure that they have a good process before they grow again. Like we're adaptive to the owner based on where they're at in their cycle. And we want to make sure that we have the support to get them to that next tier if they're ready to continue to grow. Every one of our brands and in home services, you're not locked into a physical space. And so that's an advantage of home services. Your opportunity is as big as your territory the next day. So every day is an opportunity for you to grow your business. It's just what kind of drive do you have to go execute the plan that we give you?
Well, I think that's a great way to segue into the brands that you represent at Horsepower Brands. So Mighty Dog Roofing was the first one to launch. iFoam, I think, was right there at the onset also of launching Horsepower Brands. But you've added some additional great ones. But why don't we start with talking about Mighty Dog Roofing and available territories and what makes that brand unique in the roofing space.
So I'll even break it down to a category. So the first four brands I'll speak to, if you can understand the category and you're listening to this, it may be adaptive to what you want, what would be ideal for you as an operator. And so the first category is subcontractor brands. And in home services, if people aren't familiar in the space, it's understanding that in a subcontractor brand, we have four of them. Mighty Dog Roofing's one of them. It's where your labor force that's going to install the work that you've sold is subcontractor. And and that means for you from a simplicity standpoint, the business model is a bit easier to run than another category that I'll explain later. Because the work that you don't have to be an expert in the actual labor side or in the installation side, you're going to hire the crews to do that. And we help you find those crews and we point you in the path where to find additional crews and you can build a great business off of that. It also allows you in each one of these four brands to start from home. So we believe that if you can operate lean in the beginning and grow your business and get through those first couple of inflection points before you go too far into additional overheads such as rent and things of that such, if you can start from home and start into that business in the right way and then scale from there, it's a better path. You obviously save more dollars from your investment and you get a better return. So under the subcontractor brands, we're in the roofing space, which is Mighty Dog Roofing. Roofing, gutters, siding, and windows. It's the exterior of the home. Whether it's storm related or retail, you have an opportunity to put on a new roof for a family that is in need. Another subcontractor brand is that's doing extremely well within our category is our blinds and window treatment space. It's called Bumblebee Blinds, and that's shades, shutters, everything window treatments custom within your home. Huge demand in that area. It's more of a designed type of a brand. So if you have this ability and desire to be a part of a service that you're helping design what that looks like for a homeowner, or building a team that looks like designing for a homeowner, it's a great brand to be a part of. We have a custom blinds and shutters product line that is unique to Bumblebee Blinds and only serviced by Bumblebee Blinds to give you an advantage in your market and differentiator. The third one is fencing. Stand Strong Fencing has done phenomenal. We've awarded a lot of locations, but the initial 12 months of launching fencing business, it's been phenomenal. The opportunities to grow and scale leads and finding those opportunities in your local market because it's on the outside the home, you can see which customers need your services just by being from the street and looking at the home. So we got a lot of different marketing tactics, both in the field and also digital that can acquire customers. But the fencing category is an unbelievable opportunity. That's one as an example that as you build your business over time, you start from home, but as you build your business over time, then you get a yard, which allows you to acquire materials in bulk and even improve your profit margins. But you can do that when you reach a certain level in sales and volume where it makes sense to you and your business at that time. And then the last one really has had the most success in the last 6 months for us in terms of we have a lot of open territory and runway available is Groovy Hughes Painting. And if you haven't looked at this one, Laura, and anyone listening is go to the website and look at the branding. The branding is phenomenal in the painting category. This is exterior and interior painting, but it's has a lot of runway. We are excited about this. Our leadership team that has been part of this brand for a period of time now has been part of large painting businesses at a national scale in their past, and they really have shifted our focus in terms of where we're going to take this brand into the future. All four of those are great options under that subcontractor category if it's an ideal fit for somebody that's a little bit of an easier style to start a business from the labor side and a little bit of less overhead in terms of how you operate it.
Well, I'd say that the branding on all four of those is on point. And yes, Groovy Hughes is groovy with the branding. And got to see the painting trucks and the pickup trucks when I was in Omaha last year. Very groovy, very, very fun. So thank you for sharing more about those. I like them because they're low employee count with a subcontractor model. So you're hiring those subcontractors to do the install of the fencing or the adding of the roofing. So you're not going to climb up on a ladder and lay tiles in Arizona or shingles in Omaha. And when I was out visiting my son in Omaha in October, driving around his neighborhood, I saw a Stand Strong fencing install being done over the course of the week that I was there. So it was kind of cool. I'm like, I know them.
I love that. I love that because that brand is relatively still new, but we've had a lot of early success with that. It's pretty exciting. Great. The franchisees that have stepped into those brands have really came out of the gate pretty strong, and we're excited about it. I can go through like the second
Yes.
category of brands that covers 4 different brands if you'd like.
Yes, if you would cover those as well. You have some tried and true ones that don't have a lot of white space left, and then you have a brand new one that you launched recently. So share
Yeah.
the next category.
Yeah, so the installation brands is what we call this category. And so, from a complexity level, it's more complex, and people should know that from the beginning. Now, the good thing is the barrier to entry does exist there. To build a bigger business, and when I say bigger business in terms of number of employees and size and impact to the community and sales and revenue, I think that these are brands that you can build a large business within your community. You just have to understand as a franchisee and operator that you're going to now manage not just the sales team that's going to be out in the field working with homeowners and getting the proposals and the wins, but now you're going to manage the installation team, the technicians that are in the field installing the service or the work performed to complete the job. And that's not to scare anyone away from those opportunities. It's just to ensure that the person coming into that understands that there's an additional layer of management. And so we're looking for people that have the ability to manage people that are out in the field and keeping people accountable and want to actually dive in and learn a little bit about the service and become passionate and understand like what you're doing inside the business to build a big business over time because those businesses you really can capture a lot of market share the bigger that you can build it because there's just not a lot of competitors are out there. And the ones that are, I invite people always to invite those competitors into their home and see what that experience looks like because we realize it's not as professional as what we want it to be for our brands. And so we want to bring a level of professionalism to those industries. The second thing with installation is also to understand they're not a work from home and that we do have to have a facility or a flex space which has a little bit of a warehouse and a small office. So we're not talking, a large warehouse or anything of that such, anywhere from 1,500 to 2,000 square feet of space, small office, but you do typically have to hold some materials or inventory or vehicles, and that's usually where your technicians start the day. And so knowing that from an installation, the investment's going to be higher. And so it's going to match the expectation of what the brand looks like. But we have phenomenal branding for these and we're excited about each one of these. But iFoam insulation, you mentioned that earlier, is focused on spray foam, blow-in, and bat insulation, all types of insulation to save energy within your home. The branding on that is phenomenal. When those are large trucks, when they show up in your neighborhood or at a business, you can't miss it from the road. So the branding alone is a huge billboard going down the road for the insulation category. Gatsby Glass is our premier installation of glass. So we're talking shower door enclosures, mirrors, railings, all things glass inside of home, inside business. That business has really taken off in our commercial segment. And so we've been working with our franchisees to help pull blueprints from projects and bids and opportunities, and so that allow them the ability to bid on some commercial work. And the opportunity in the commercial field within that category is significant. So if we can train our franchisees and help them through, that's about after a year of operating. If you can start to get into the commercial, it's actually another complete lever that you can pull within Gatsby Glass that can really take your business to a large scale. And then you mentioned Varsity Zone Heating and Air. That's a recent addition. So that's obviously heating and air. It's a play on the sports theme, blue versus red or heating versus cool. And the branding's phenomenal there. And
Yes.
if you sign up for the maintenance package, it's your season ticket. So we ask you to renew your season package, your season tickets, and stay on the maintenance plan with the heating and air. Listen, heating and air, anyone could Google that category, and you're going to see a lot of attention that's been given to that space from a lot of private equity in different categories. There's a lot of interest. You can build a large business within that. That's about hiring great technicians, taking care of those technicians, making sure that they do good on behalf of your homeowner, and that you can grow a big business. So that's a business that's not going anywhere, and it's going to be a service that we're excited about. For horsepower, we wanted to get into the mechanical room and start to collect the data in the maintenance packages inside that mechanical room because we want long term to own the home. And then the last one, which is it's been around and it's a recent addition to the installation is Blingle, which is our
Hmm.
outdoor premier lighting. We've added that into our installation category this year as we launch forward. We've really reshaped the leadership team. We've reshaped our design of that brand and how we go to market, and it's been a phenomenal last 12 months of results. We're optimistic about where we can take outdoor lighting. We have a better understanding how we want to target that customer and go after that space and that opportunity. And Blingle is definitely a great opportunity. Also installation, because you have to hire some technicians to install that work, but it is low voltage is what I would say to anyone listening. Outdoor lighting, it's low voltage. So you're not having to hire electricians. You're looking to hire technicians that can install that work, both in holiday lighting and landscape lighting.
Yeah, I love all of these brands. And so it was cool. There's a new restaurant that opened up near me in Chandler, Arizona. And I saw a whole fleet of Gatsby glass vehicles preparing to do the install. And that got me so excited because I've been to the Gatsby glass founding location in Omaha. And I see the cool etched glass that you do, the perforations, the shading, and so I couldn't wait for Parlay to open and go see what that looked like. And I am very impressed by all of the glass that Parlay invested in, and the fact that Gatsby Glass franchisees were the ones that did the install of that particular location was really cool.
Yeah, our franchisee in that area is he set the record. I think somebody's beat him now, but he set the record of the first month in terms of top line sales. And I'll tell a quick story of him. It just he's a person that if you go into a home, you don't realize how many opportunities there is with glass inside a home, especially in some homes in the Scottsdale area or areas of Phoenix that he's just really good at upselling because it's you called me out to your home to take a look at this one room within your home. And as you walk around with the homeowner, you start to introduce all the things that you can do with glass and all the things that Gatsby Glass is able to offer. The upsell opportunity within Gatsby Glass with the right salesperson and person working with the homeowner is unbelievable. And they're a testament. They are an excellent franchisee that's doing really well.
Yeah, you can start with frameless shower doors, and then before you know it, you're doing a whole wine cellar room that is
Exactly.
super cool that you want all your friends to come over and see. So, love that
Yeah.
brand. And then Blingle, I love a little bling. I was in the event arena for 25 years, and
Yeah.
I love what you're doing for hardscaping. In my neighborhood, it seems like there's a lot more lighting year round and not just for the holidays anymore, plus the events that Blingle does. So excited for the growth and the changes and tweaks that you've done to that brand. So the install brands, if you're interested, they're beautiful, they're fun. You can see their work and the aha moment after the install, whether it's lights or glass, or probably not aha moments with spray foam insulation, but but the cooling bill.
Only when you see your electrical bill.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So very cool. And then you have a ninth brand.
One more.
Where does Heroes land?
Heroes. Yep. Heroes Lawn Care. Yep. Good job. So we put that in our category that's called Advantage Brands, and this is not new. It's new within the last year. And our vision and our purpose at Horsepower Brands is to empower entrepreneurs to achieve their why. And what we learned is we didn't really have brands in our category that were on the lower end of an investment to start out and allows an entrepreneur to start into and become part of Horsepower and be a part of what we're building with a lower investment. And so the lawn care space is a phenomenal category, but it allows somebody to step in at a lower investment. Now, the unique part with Heroes is we offer multiple service lines so that you can scale your business over time, but you can start with one vehicle and focus on fertilization, or you can focus on irrigation. One of those two areas we ask you to focus your attention, if not both, when you start from a single vehicle. But then you can start to grow into landscaping or mowing or tree care or snow removal up in the northern markets and maybe one other that I'm missing. And the objective with Heroes still goes back to our original purpose is we just wanted to offer additional brands into the future that bring more people to be into entrepreneurship, into home services, and we didn't want the investment level on each one of our brands to be so high that we were ignoring the opportunities, not ignoring, but not giving the opportunities to other people to be a part of it. So as we launch brands into the future, there's some additional categories we've been thinking about that would bring the investment level down and bring people into entrepreneurship and be a part of horsepower in the future.
Well, excellent. Well, you've talked about investment a few different times, and I know the investment range varies depending upon the brand. But one of the things that I always tell clients that I'm working with is you'll see that the investment appears to be higher with horsepower brands, but that's not necessarily the case because you know that it takes a bit of time to successfully launch a brand and grow your business. So in all of your franchise discovery calls, you talk about the whole 12 months, not just the required 3 months. You want to
Yep.
talk a little bit about the investment and the discovery process with horsepower brands?
Yeah, I mean, success in any business, whether it's franchising or new business, is really considering the amount of capital you need to launch that business. And those initial 12 months are the initial 3 months are crucial, but it really is those initial 12 months. And we find that if people have the right amount of capital to cover them over that 12-month period, the better successful they can become. And so we just want to have those conversations on the front end. We include a conservative estimate to what we call working capital, which is the excess funds that you're setting aside, requesting from the bank, or however you're planning to fund the business to cover some of those costs early on when revenue is not coming in. Because day one, you're starting at zero and you're trying to grow your business. And so you have to afford to be able to pay for those costs of operating that business until the revenue starts to exceed those costs. And so that's really our why. We just want to be able to have thoughtful, careful conversations on the front end, make sure to set the right expectations and to really solve that one issue, which is capital can be one of the common mistakes or problems business owners have, not just in franchising, in any business, new business that somebody's starting.
Yeah, and another topic that we've had a couple of conversations about, particularly with some other folks in the franchise world, is that relates to capital is, am I going to be owner, operator, and involved in my business from the get-go, 100% all in, or am I going to be semi-involved? I think Horsepower coined that phrase as semi-involved, and we don't like the word semi-absentee. You can't be absent from your business and expect it to be successful. But if you're going to be semi-involved in your business, then you're going to need more working capital because you're going to have quality 100 or 100 a six-figure employee that's going to manage the business for you, and you're still going to have to be involved in that. How does Horsepower Brands address that topic of different types of business ownerships and where you see the success happening in your franchise system?
Yeah, I mean, you hit it, you did pretty good. So we just want people, it's a mindset. We want people to be involved in their business. To the degree in which you want to be involved, we can talk semi, we can not talk semi, we can talk about it. What I actually ask a lot of candidates, can you just dream for a moment with me and think about what it would look like if you were all the way in? And what could it grow to? What could it look like? Like at the end of the day, if you looked out 5 years from now, if you put all your energy into it, is that a bigger business 5 years from today versus a business that you put half your energy into? Everyone will say yes. And so then just take a moment and dream with me and think what that would look like. What would that give back to you for you and your family? Would that give you a better fulfillment for you and your community? Like, I don't know you until you start to like tell me what you're doing this for. And so it comes back to your why. Everything comes back to your why. And so we do have lots of conversations, and I can tell you, since we've been open to talking about that prior to awarding the location, what we find time and time again, people are transitioning into full-time ownership, which is phenomenal because we truly do believe that they can build a bigger and better business if they do that. A lot of people that are coming to us have an incredible background and resume and skill set that if they use that energy and put it towards business ownership, the better. From a semi-involved nature, it just actually you have to be a lot more skilled. At that point, it's not just the capital required to hire the GM to run the business. It's like what's your ability to motivate and lead a team to care about that business as almost as much as you do, because they'll never care about it as much as you. You're the owner, you're the one who poured life savings into it. So that person you hire will never care about it like you do. And are you able to motivate and manage a team and get them to care and get them to want? Part of that is not just hiring them. I truly believe, when we talk to people that want to look at semi-involved nature, is you're going to have to give some level of incentive or equity to that lead person at some point within that first year. And that's going to give them the incentive to start to care about it. What I do say though is nobody asks when you say you're the owner of the company, and if I'm the general manager and I say, yeah, I'm the owner of the company, nobody will ask you how much do you own. And so having that GM being able to say, I'm an owner of this company, whether it's 3% or 5%, whether it's just vested over 5 years. And so I'm granted 5%, but that's not vested over until I've been there for 5 years, whatever the case and whatever the agreement looks like. You can now go to market and you're talking to a homeowner and be like, yeah, like I want to work with you. I'm an owner of this business. And so now you have an operator of your business that still probably will not care because they were given the equity opportunity, not didn't have to pay for it. So, but they're getting 1 inch closer to you and acting like an owner. So that's incredibly important. If people are thinking about being semi-involved from day one, is what are you willing to do in terms of some equity incentive? We actually help our franchisees upon signing. We have a law firm that has already written up a number of these agreements and can help coach those type of owners through what those type of incentive programs look like and how you can put that into place into their business. So in the end, it still comes back to mindset. We want to make sure no matter what, the absentee word is not used within our process,
Sure.
because we believe a lot with what we're building at Horsepower Brands, and we want them to be involved in what we're doing, and we want them to care about it. We want them to build something special, and that only comes if you have the right mindset.
Yeah, I think that's really smart, and had me taking a look at the way that I'm talking to candidates who are like, I want something that I just, builds a fortune while I sleep. Well, don't we all? But
Yeah, they do. Yeah. I
but
want 10 of those.
if
Yeah.
you're willing to put in the effort and put in the work and then reward your team for their effort and work and make them feel like they are part of the family and the business, then your success is going to amplify itself tenfold much more quickly. So I like that you're planting that seed and talking about that equity partner for a general manager or a salesperson early in the conversation, even before signing a franchise agreement, is really, really important. And you guys have amazing franchise development team members. I worked with many of them. They're very good at giving information, making sure that candidates are validating through the process, and then your whole team is there on Meet the Team Day / Discovery Day in Omaha for candidates to make a well-informed decision. What are some of the highlights of your team, Tony, and what makes them so special?
Well, one, they are special. They're a great group of people. They've really, I wish I did help coin the term semi-involved. I wish we could actually, instead of franchise sales, just refer to it as franchise education. And so a lot of what we talk about, and we actually ask for feedback from candidates that came through our process, and we just had an award on Friday last week. And I was watching the feedback that was provided from that couple, and it hit on exactly what I want to hear from candidates, which was, hey, we had questions along the way, and there was always somebody willing to provide an answer. And at no point did we feel like we were being pressured or pushed or sold into looking at this franchise opportunity. And at any point where we had a question, the answers were given, and it may not have been the answer we wanted to hear, but it was an answer in terms of the question that we asked. And so I always talk about, like, I don't want this to be a sales process. I want to be educational. Entrepreneurship isn't the easiest path in life, but it's a very rewarding one. And so let's talk about the pros and the cons, and let's make sure that you have a clear understanding of what it's going to take to be an operator and to be a franchisee of one of our brands. And if it's not a right fit for us, we also want to empower entrepreneurs to achieve their why. And so I even say it at Discovery Day, even at that point, I'm biased. I want you to choose Horsepower Brands, but if you choose to move forward in a different area in entrepreneurship with a different brand and different category, I'll be cheering for you either way. And so we're trying to create that culture within our team, and the team is phenomenal. They bring the energy. Like, the first thing is to get excited about entrepreneurship and business ownership, and the opportunity just to consider the idea of owning your own business with one of our brands. And yeah, that team, they always make sure that they keep me keep me excited about what we're doing because they bring the energy each day and work with people like yourself and consultants and share our story or our message to people. And yeah, they're just a great group of people that, honestly just want to provide a good message about entrepreneurship, business ownership, and home services and horsepower.
Well, and you guys create a great culture system wide. It starts at the corporate headquarters, but also amongst your franchisees with the EOS systems, celebrating wins, having your regular team meetings that include everybody system wide. It's just the culture is, it breeds success and energy, and it's contagious. It's worth catching.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. It's a great group of people. We have 160 employees at Horsepower Brands, and so there's definitely it's not one person. It's not even five people. It's 160 people coming together day in and day out for the franchisees, and then it's 400 plus franchisees that are bringing all their intellectual capital and adding to this equation. It's our partners and consultants like you and others that bring great people into our system. And so it's a whole ecosystem. It's definitely not one person by any means, and it's a collective effort.
So, as we wrap up our time here, what advice would you give to our listeners looking at home service brands as they move down this road and consider entrepreneurship? What's your one piece of advice you'd leave with them?
Yeah, I mean, even in today's environment right now, like there's some uncertainty. But over the last 30 years that I've witnessed and been in business, there's been uncertainty time and time again. The one industry, not there's multiple industries, but one industry that continues to perform during those times is home services. So again, whether it's one of the brands within Horsepower Brands, I think home services is an incredible segment that should be at least one of the options somebody's considering and looking at, especially if they want to be a business owner, an entrepreneur, and going all in and owning a business, because every day is your opportunity to go build your business. Every day is an opportunity to go grow your revenue top line. Revenue fixes a lot of problems, and it's a phenomenal industry, macro, micro, regardless what's going on in the world, in the nation. You can make a huge impact to your local community. The last thing I'd leave with home services, it's a feel good. Your home is one of your most trusted places in your whole entire life. And you invite people into your home to help fix things that you either need or want. Either way, when it's done in the right way, uh, that person that did that work for you just left you in a better spot than you were before in the thing that you trust the most, your home. And so it's a feel good all around. Once you start to get involved and start to learn about home services, you really understand the impact you can make in your local community for your family and just whatever your why is and what you're chasing for. So I'm passionate about home services. We love it at Horsepower Brands, and we'll continue to explore and add brands within the portfolio inside the home.
Well, you're on the Powered by Franchising podcast and your horsepower brands. So, what
It's got to
is
work.
the power behind horsepower?
It's got to work. That's a good theme. Thank you, Laura, for having me. This is fun.
Well, appreciate you joining me on the show today. And if any of our listeners out there are interested in exploring home services, I would love to share more with you about Horsepower Brands and why I am passionate about them. I've been to the Horsepower Brands headquarters twice now in Omaha, Nebraska. I have personal friends that are now franchisees. They've been franchisees with Horsepower for a time now. So I'd love to learn more about your why and what is driving you to become an entrepreneur. So you can visit my website, mintfranchiseconsultants.com, and connect with me. Love to schedule time to chat further. So thanks, Tony, for sharing the power behind Horsepower Brands.